Thanks to ASICS for sponsoring this weekend show. Shop the ASICS Tokyo Collection, experience premium running comfort and performance with their newest models, the Mega Blast and Sonic Blast. Visit asics.com.au or visit your local running specialty store.
That your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you did.
All right, this weekend's guest on the Inside Running podcast is a two-time Olympian, an Olympic Semi Finalist as well over the 1500. She was recently second at the Australian Cross Country Championships down in Ballarat. Welcome to the Inside Running podcast, Jenny Blundell.
Thanks, Brady. Thanks for having me inside running. I have to say to start with, it is actually such an honor to be on the podcast.
No, it's not. No, do not say that.
It is. I don't think you guys know that, you reach a lot of people, a lot of audience base that you have. And yeah, it's so good to hear you guys talk about variety from the elites, but also down to anyone that's giving running a go. And that's what I love about the podcast when I'm listening on my Sunday runs. Like, it's so relatable, so it's really cool to be on the pod.
No, well, thank you. Well, we're very honoured to have you on because I've spent probably the last, 3 or 4 hours today watching some races of you, going through all your kind of splits and bios, and to have someone of your credentials who's been, racing at the top levels for a very long time on our show. We're very honoured to have you on. So, I want us to start off by saying that because, you're a much bigger name in this sport than we are. So, we're honoured to have you on the show, Jenny. But joined us from Newcastle. Is that where you're based now?
Yeah, I am based. It's kind of a little hub now in Newey. Like there's Rose, OG, Newcastle. She's born and bred Newey. And then Jess floats around up here as well when she is in Australia. So, yeah, there's a few of us running around here in Newey.
Yep. But Sydney originally, yeah? How long have you been in Newcastle for?
So I moved up from Sydney in 2022, like at the start of the year. Just when I was ready to move up here with my partner, or I should say fiance. So Charles and I have been up here since March 2022. And yeah, I do miss Sydney, but I am lucky that it's not too far down the freeway. It's about 70, 80 minutes down the freeway to where I grew up in Sydney. So I go back regularly and link up with still my coach. So it doesn't feel too far away from Sydney.
Yeah. And wedding coming up in November, I hear. Is that correct? The same day as the New South Wales State 3K champs. Would that be around the same time?
Oh gosh, I've copped so much for setting my wedding date on State 3K. So apologies for a few of the listeners out there that have to make the hard decision to either come to my wedding or sacrifice an annual 3K PB at the state champs in November. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. Hey, we often go through our guest PBs to start the show. So I'm going to read out some times. I hope I've got these right. And then you give me some context about, where they occurred or any stories or any memories that kind of come straight to your mind when we go through the times. How's that sound?
Well, that sounds good. We'll see if you get them right, hopefully.
Well, this is off World Athletics. We're going back, I want to bring up your 4 and 800 as well. So 57 for the 400 and 203 for the 800.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I feel like any distance runner, our 400 bests are always probably split through a 4x4 relay, which doesn't really count. Terrible coming out of the blocks, but yeah, that sounds about right as a kid coming out in the 400.
And you come from that traditional track and field upbringing where you did concentrate on the shorter distances as you grew up?
Yeah, definitely. Like I ran some cross country as a kid, but I really liked the 1 lap, 2 lap Wasn't a fan of doing 1500 until a lot later in my teenage years. So I did enjoy the speed of the fours and the eights.
Yep. 1500, 404 from Beijing in 2016.
Correct. That was my breakout year, 2016, in the 1500. And yeah, that's still my PB to date.
Yeah, yeah. I looked at some of your other results from 2016 as well. Like you were first at that. It was called Melbourne World Challenge at the time.
Yes.
That's probably
Yeah.
what people now know as like the Murray Plant Meet or the Melbourne Track Classic kind of thing. Like that was the big meet that Melbourne had.
Yeah.
You also won at the Hunter Track Classic. You were second at Adelaide, fourth at Sydney Track Classic, and then third at Nationals. So, really successful domestic season, which I guess led into that race over in Beijing.
Yeah, it definitely did. If I remember correctly, the Olympics was on everyone's radar, but I was the young star that year, and just as how that domestic season unfolded, I thought that I would dip my toes in doing some races overseas, and then I kind of hit it out of the waters straight away. And my first race in Beijing on my way to Europe that year, I got the qualifier straight away. So it was nice to not have to chase the qualifier as such, but that rest of Europe season leading into Rio, every time I competed, I still had to be always putting my hat in the ring for them to choose top three. So if I remember, it was me, Lyndon Hall, Melissa Duncan, who'd already been sort of pre-selected, but she was injured at the time, and Zoe Buckman and Heidi C. So it was kind of like the
Mm.
big five of us that everyone was sort of like chitter chattering that it could have really been any three of us. And I just kind of got lucky that year and got selected I think I was 21. So as you can imagine, a young 21 with no responsibilities apart from just um, getting nervous on the start line. Every time I raced, that's all I really had to focus on. Didn't really have anything else going for me at that point.
And was the selection similar to what it is now? Like a lot of discretion and like almost confusing to know what the selectors were looking for leading into Rio?
I would say it is quite similar. They there was only really one standard. It wasn't in that time period when there was like A and B qualifiers, so it was pretty straightforward. Um, there was the automatic pick that if someone won nationals, which that year Heidi did win nationals at any time point, if she got the qualifier, then she would have been selected. So that was always sort of like on my radar, Lyndon's radar, that could have impacted our selection. But other than that, it was pretty much just your head to heads, the time, and um, yeah, I don't really think there was too much discretion at that point in our
Yeah.
event. So yeah.
Do you think that's like a lifetime PB now, the 404? Can you see, like, I know you've been getting into the longer stuff on the roads, but you think you can get back on the track and lower that one a bit?
Oh, I feel like in my dreams.
The spikes are different. Spikes are different than
Yeah,
2016.
yeah, yeah. I have thought, oh, like that was pre-super spikes and things like that. But I I've had a lot of issues with both of my calf muscles, and unfortunately, the faster I got, just the more my calves would actually just kind of like tear actually during races. So we had to kind of change tactics a little bit. I felt like, I'm not sure if anyone listening can relate to, I think I was navigating a little bit of compartment syndrome where when I got fitter and my thresholds got better, my capacity, I was able to run faster. But then right at the end of that sort of like 3.5 to 4 minute race of sort of like build up of like junk in your legs, that would really just be the tipping point for my lower limbs, and they would tear always in the last sort of 100 meters. And um, I found that the more gym work I did and plyometrics and focusing on calf strength, I think that actually made it worse. So instead, this is takes years to reflect
Yeah,
on,
in
but
hindsight.
in hindsight, so we kind of we've taken out a lot of intensity, changed focus to different events, and just had to adapt with that situation. Otherwise, I think I just would have been just having just ongoing issues, and it sucks, but that's just what it is, and it's just my physiology, which is frustrating, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and is that the main like factor? Because you've been like, we'll get to some recent PBs in a second that were kind of set in the last 12 months, but was that what kind of had you out for long periods of time over this? Like we're talking about a 9, 10 year kind of span
yeah,
here.
yeah. So I would say between the two Olympics, so between 2016 and 2021, most seasons where I either wasn't in Europe or wasn't either absent on the second half of domestic seasons. Yeah, it was calf tears. No tendonitis issues, no bone injuries or anything. It was just these ongoing soleus tears, like kind of near the tendon muscle junction. And it was really only happening in races rather than at training. So yeah, that's a little bit of a down point for me. But
Must have done your head in,
yeah,
Jenny. Like just
it
that
it does.
same thing over and over. Like,
It
yeah.
does. It does. And I'm very diligent. I would do all the right things. At the time, I was with the Institute of Sport, and I actually relocated and lived in Homebush. So I was always at the gym, always working with the physio staff and the strength and conditionings. I was doing everything right. And I think it just wasn't working. And at that point, I was on pretty low mileage, so I wouldn't really touch anything more than 90 kilometers a week. Like for a distance runner, that's can be considered quite low. Um, and so we kind of then changed tactics and went less gym, less intensity. Let's try and build my running in the legs. And touch wood, I haven't really had any issues since changing that tactic.
Yeah. Do you see like your career to date, like in two stages like that? Like
Yeah.
the PBs were just kind of read out, and then I guess we can jump into your 3K, which is 8:43 from last year in Sydney, your 5K, which is 14:59 in Austria last year, which, is only a handful of Australian women who have broken 15 minutes. And that would have qualified you for your third Olympics, but there was just a few people a bit quicker than you, which is this golden age of women's
Yeah.
middle distance and longer distance running. But yeah, I guess it's in two parts now.
It is, and I think that's the uh, how I have stayed in the sport for so long despite all of these ongoing hiccups, because every time that I changed events moving from the 15 to the 5, it does feel like a little bit of a rebirth. And I I, I I cannot believe last year I was running PBs at 30 years old, which was just so good. And like you said, the quality of athletes that I have to verse, not only in Australia but in the world, it's just rising to another level. And the fact that breaking 15 minutes, almost got me onto my third Olympics is um, crazy to think. But here we are in 2025, and the girls have now dropped down to the 1440s, 1430s
Mm.
in Australia, which is again crazy, and we'll probably see another drop next year. But it does feel like a rebirth, and so now, like me, pretty much retiring from the track now, which is a little sad to say, but moving on to the roads, it definitely feels like a new career, which is exciting.
Must have been a hard pill to swallow, maybe because you were so young, like 21 at the Olympics. Like you made it out of the heats into the semi. You stood next to Safan Hassan on
Yeah.
the start line of the semi final. I was watching it today. And, like, to think that there's a lot of people lining up at the world champs this weekend with that as their goal. Like,
Yeah.
were you a bit, like, naive and, like, did you take it for granted at the time, like, not understanding how significant that was? And did you just assume that you'd just keep making teams and that's what would happen?
That's a really good question because I had made junior teams in the past, like World Youth and World Juniors, and I knew the gravity of that, and I always felt like my trajectory was to make senior teams, and I I knew the gravity of it, and I thought that I actually might not make the next Olympics after Rio, and I would say that I was quite a mature athlete for 21 years old. So I felt that I handled the pressure really well, and I didn't take it for granted, and um and that is reflective of the following year. I didn't make the London World Champs, and from then onwards I knew that it's hard to make a team, but it's also just as hard to not make the team when you consider the mental barriers and picking yourself up and going again the next year. So I think if I hadn't experienced that, I probably wouldn't have made it to the Tokyo Games either. So um, yeah, I think as much as I would love to sit here and see the statistics like Lyndon Hall making her 10th
Yeah. Yeah.
senior team, that's crazy to consider. I started my journey with her, but um, yeah, I'm extremely proud of being that young little 20-year-old making my first games. Yeah.
It's also pretty amazing how, like, clutch you came up though in 2021. Like, the fact that you missed did you miss Com Games in 2000?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I
So you
did.
just come up for the Olympic years. Like,
Yeah,
it's quite remarkable.
there's a few little giggles that I get from some coaches and some athletes that are like, "Oh, Jenny, you only come around in the Olympic years. You only come around every 4 years," and it's actually so true. Like, um, my coach and I, we do have that sort of Olympic fever because he's very supportive of my uni at the time and my jobs, and so we always did target the big ones, knowing that we didn't want to rush through all of this calf tearing stuff.
What were your, memories of Rio? Was it, because 'cause we'll talk about Tokyo soon, we've obviously no crowd and stuff, but was it overwhelming, the I guess, the vibe in the stadium and things like that, competing?
Definitely, it is everything that you would imagine. Like, there's so much noise that you can't hear the noise. And there's just so much lights that even though I was competing at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., it felt like during the day because it's just so lit up. And there's your helicopters in the warm up, which is crazy to think that the world is watching athletics because that is that is the feature event in the Olympics. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't say I was overwhelmed because I was quite lucky. I had done a few bigger meets in the lead up to practice that, and um, I do remember looking up in the crowd when you have the track sort of to yourself when you do a sprint through over to the 1500 start line, and um, in moment of calmness, you do hear some Aussies just like yelling, and it's always the Australians. And you look up, and it's just like someone from Sydney or like my Sydney Uni Club, where you're like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And it's crazy, but it's something that is I wish everyone could experience it.
Yeah, wow, there's not many people who get to, so thank you for, like, recapping it like that. And do you ever go back and watch, like, I was amazed today because there's, you had, Laura Muir was there in the final,
Yeah,
Safana
yeah.
San. Like the footage of her even on the start line of the final, where I'm not sure if you've watched it recently, but she kind of puts her head in her hands like she doesn't want the camera to be in her face, kind of thing. It was a really odd kind of moment. DeBarber was the favorite, and then it
Yeah.
was
Kip Yagan was
Kip Yeagon. Yeah,
there.
Kip Yeagon come out and beat her to get her first of what's that, three in a row.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, like you're in this event with these powerful names that a lot of our listeners are familiar with.
Yeah, and also to mention Jenny Simpson, she was like
Yeah,
an
yeah. And
absolute
Robury as
idol of
well.
mine. Oh my gosh! And I was in, I think it was the semi with her, and I said to my coach Jimbo after, like, oh my god, I need to get a photo with her. Um, but uh, yeah, it is quite cool to have experienced first Olympics with Faith and then with Kip Yagan and then to continue following her journey um, is cool. And we've got the same birthday and everything, so it's quite
Oh,
cool.
how good's that?
We went to the same World Juniors, and so I feel like I've been there from the get go
Yeah.
watching her.
And then long-time listeners may remember, like leading into, because we're actually doing the podcast for this second qualification, which I think was it like the last day of the qualification period. You were on some like
For
the bank,
Tokyo.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bankstown track on some random night. It was raining. They'd hardly had the lights turned on, and you had to run 15:10, and you ran
Yeah.
like 15:10.27 and
Yeah.
got in
Yeah.
off a ranking. Like didn't get the time, but you kind of
Honestly,
rolled down.
that was brutal. It that was stressful because I was sitting in Sydney in lockdown where, I was in home bush Lidcombe, which was like a red zone. We technically weren't allowed to be like 5 kilometers away from our house. And I'm on calls with Athletics New South Wales, and we're trying to organise a meet that only has X amount of people at the track that day to organise some sort of time trial to try and, yeah, run the time. And we got, I think we got two goes at it. One where Eloise came and tried to go for it
That's
as
right.
well with
Yep.
me, and then I decided to go again a few days later, and then yeah, ran that time. And I just honestly, I laugh at it now, but I finished and I thought I'd done it like 15:10, but you got to run 15:09,
Yeah.
and I'm just like splattered across the track. There's just like it was raining, it was blowing a gale, and I'm just sort of like, can we wind it down? Like I'm just yelling, like, come on, guys. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's got
yeah,
to
it
be a
was pretty.
lockdown tax or something. Like, can we take 4 seconds off because I shouldn't be here?
I know, but like I felt though that being in that environment and learning to be a little bit more metronome with the pacing and the time trialing helped me then for Tokyo, because pretty much at that point for the last few months all I knew how to race was just running even splits. So then in Tokyo that's literally what I did. So I was like in the front of the race for the first, I don't know, 2Ks or something, just driving the pace, and just because my body was so used to it.
Yeah. And you know, it's like second off your PB there too at the time. Like you ran 15:11. So
Yeah,
it's, and obviously different experience with the no crowds and the stress of
yeah.
trying not to
I
catch COVID and isolation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was no crowd, yet it felt like a crowd because all the seats were different colors. So when you looked up and when you're running, you kind of felt like there was people there. And then, like the NRL had at the time, they had fake clapping noises over the loudspeaker.
Yeah.
So it totally sounded like a crowd. And it wasn't until you finish the race and you're just looking up and just seeing not a whole lot of people there.
I looked at the Australian champs results that year as well. So you beat Izzy, Rose, Lauren Ryan, Leanne, Jen. Like you took some scalps that day to get the Australian title.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that I was able to pull that 5K race off. I felt like it played into my hand being a bit more of a 1500 background because it was a bit slower with a bit more of a wind up kick down. But I think the difference was I was a bit new to the event, so maybe I kind of went a bit under the radar. But it was it was it was a little bit unexpected, and my parents weren't even there that day. They were with our friends, like camping at a pizza restaurant or something, and I rang them and I was like, "Mom, I won, and that was the national champs. So you missed my first national like gold medal." And she was like, "What? I didn't even know. I thought it was just Sydney Track Classic." So that was really unexpected, taking the
Yeah,
win
come
there.
on, mum.
Yeah, I know. And then that kind of really set the tone for the rest of that season heading towards Tokyo. So that was very cool.
What did you notice as the biggest differences between, and it might be in train and actually racing them, like stepping up from the 15 to the 5K?
Oh, the 5K is so much harder. Like so much respect for people that are actually making the transition from 15 to 5 and then 10 and then now what I'm doing onto the roads, because I thought that it was going to be a lot slower, so I'll get a little bit more time to breathe in these races, but you really don't. It is such a fast pace from the get go, and I found that, um, yeah, your training literally has to double, if not triple. And yeah, I still find the 5K pace um, really challenging when I'm not sure if you're the same, Brady, but if someone says at training, okay, we're doing 400s or 800s at 5K pace, you know that's going to be a brutal session.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you can go that pace in a race with how actual hard it feels in
Yeah,
training. And it's
yeah.
that fine line in a race too, isn't it? Like I feel like if you're a second or a point 0.8 of a second a lap too quick, you overstep that mark and it's really hard to get back into rhythm and come back from, and your race is kind of over at 3Ks if you overcook it.
Yeah, definitely. There's been lots of times in the 5K where I've come out the other side with a PB, but I am hurting 1500 meters in, and it's
Mm.
just how long you can sort of rattle, like rally, I should say, to the finish line. So yeah, that is. I feel like not a lot of people talk about how challenging it is to step up in distance when you're going from it from the gun. If you're just in a race where there's a bit of tactics and it's a bit of cat and mouse and then it's really only a kick down, that's a different story. But yeah, when you've got these qualifying times that you got to try and hit, it's I'd definitely be rather wanting to do the 1500 instead of the 5K.
Yeah. And is it true too when you stepped up to the 5K, like to get mentally used to doing more laps, you do your long runs like around a lap circuit just to like bore yourself or like mentally like challenge yourself?
Yes, I did. I kind of blocked that out of my memory. Yeah, a bit of a strange approach, but I really was struggling with the idea of running, yeah, the 12 and a half laps. So I kind of made it my thing where whether it was the Sunday long run or the Wednesday slightly longer run, I'd pick a small course of whether it was 1K or 600 meters or sometimes even just a track, 400-meter track. I would try and have a little PB within myself of seeing how long I could run for without getting bored and deviating out into the streets. And yeah, I've actually found that really, really good. I didn't find it too boring in the end, and I think that really helped.
Well, you
I don't
kind of
know if
don't have
you've
to
ever
think
done
about
that
where you
before.
go. Yeah, I have a few times. Like you don't have to think about where you're going. Like I'm big on a
Yeah,
big out and back. Like I'm like, if as
yeah.
long as I can get out, I just have to follow my footsteps on the way back and not think about where to loop this around and stuff. Thanks to ASICS for sponsoring this weekend show. Shop the ASICS Tokyo collection. Experience premium running comfort and performance with their newest models, the Mega Blast and Sonic Blast. Visit asics.com.au or visit your local running specialty store. And then on to like last year, how like disappointing was it not making the team even though you broke 15 minutes, like 14:59, you're over in Europe. I think was that Austria where you ran
Yeah,
that
yeah,
time?
in
Yeah,
Vienna, where everyone kind of tends to run the
yeah,
park there.
yep. But then well, did you know instantly? You're like, oh, this is going to be really hard for me to make it, or did you have some kind of hope that maybe, Lauren, because she doubled, she might have just done the
Yeah,
10 and not the 5?
yeah, it was. I really didn't know. There wasn't too much transparency on how much, whether it was either Athletics Australia or the selectors, because they're sort of two separate people, um, how keen they were on the females doing doubles. And from my understanding, I thought it was sort of across the board, that they didn't want anyone doing doubles and they just wanted to concentrate in each athlete on each event, because we did have the depth. So when I did break that 15 minutes, I thought, oh my God, I've done it. Like, I think we're on here. I think, going to be going to Paris. So I made sure that
Told your
uh,
mum.
I told my mom. I made sure that I had plans to stay in Europe, to sort of have the intentions there, and my work back at home was like, "Are you coming home soon?" And I was like, "I don't think so. Not until September, hopefully." Um, and and because that race was sort of only a week and a half or 2 weeks from when the qualifying period finished, I kind of was peaking in the right direction, um, which probably would have indicated that in 6 weeks' time I probably would have gone faster. But in the end, I got the call up as the reserve, so I I kind of got told to stay over there, keep training, and we can use you up until 24 hours before the race. So that was a bit mentally tough, probably the toughest thing that I've actually done, despite all the calf injuries in the past. Kind of
Mm.
preparing for a race that could be,
So they
but
take you into
you
the
weren't
village and
sure.
stuff as well, or just like stay
I
in
I kind
Europe?
of had
We
to
can
be
fly
somewhere
you in.
close by. So
Yeah,
because the
okay.
athletics team was so big, I
Yeah,
had like the accreditation and the uniform and
yeah.
everything there.
So yeah,
But yeah, because the athletics team's so big, they couldn't have the reserves come in.
yeah.
And yeah, so it kind of felt kind of a bit bittersweet. Instead of like competing that day, I flew back home to Australia on the day. So it wasn't until I got to my stopover that I checked my phone to, even see how the race went. But yeah, I think things like that make me a lot stronger, in terms of if I can get through that mentally, then I feel when the time comes for me to debut for some longer races, I think I'll draw upon that resilience. And yeah, bittersweet, bittersweet.
Mm. And then like this year, we've seen you in those longer races, like Gold Coast 10K on the podium up there, Launceston 10, Sydney 10, the Australian Cross Country Champs, which is obviously 10K, like only 20 seconds behind Bronte Oates, who won it, fourth at City to Surf. Like this, the future now, and how you found the transition.
Yeah, it's exciting. I will be doing my first half in Melbourne,
Okay.
coming up, which is
Yeah,
exciting.
4.5 weeks away.
Yeah, and I I am definitely respecting the distance. I can't just assume that just because I was doing well on the track that the transition will be smooth. But I feel like my training's going in the right direction to indicate that I can hopefully have a good half in a few weeks' time. And yeah, I don't really like to put a time limit on these things, but I could see myself hopefully in the future making some teams for some of these longer events, which would be exciting. But um, I do feel like it's taking me a bit longer to wrap I think my brain around being able to run at a slightly faster pace for the 10Ks. I think I'm still a little bit shy and hanging back a little bit. So I'm kind of working on trying to find my sweet spot with pacing. But um, I guess the other thing, well, actually, my mum was reminding me that not every 10K course is the same. So sometimes I need to focus a bit more on the execution of the hills and the downhills and the turns like I did at cross country, and not be so focused on looking down at my watch and seeing the average pace. Um, and I don't know, that's just my experience so far with a few of
Yeah.
these races.
Because you've been around like the 33 mid, 33:20 for these
Yeah,
10Ks. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Given you've broken 15, yeah, you got a bit of
yeah.
room to still take off those times. And when you're talking about longer distances, like is the marathon on the cards or like stick to the half marathon at this stage?
Well, I think the right answer is to get a few halves before I even think about the marathon. But it is something that I've always thought about, and um, like I've watched my coach some people doing the marathon, like Millie Clark going to Rio for the marathon, and I always watched her train and thought that that was like where I would like to see myself in my older years. And now I'm 31, and I think the time is ready to start having those conversations.
And this is Jimbo, isn't it? Like
Yes.
this is Millie Clark when she was based in Sydney. What's
Yeah.
his actual name? Like obviously James. What's his
James
last name?
Fitzgerald.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it even for me, it sounds weird to say his full name because everyone only
Yeah, I've
knows
only
him as
ever
Jimbo.
remember him as Jimbo. James Kahn. Did you have James Kahn back in the day for a while as
Yes,
well? Yep.
yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah, so when I joined the squad in 2013, it was very much like 800, 1500.
Mm.
Yeah,
Got the range, like even juniors and stuff. But then to have Millie, make an Olympic team for the marathon just proves that he's got that ability to, coach across multiple distances and ages.
yeah, yeah. He always says to me that the day of my semi final in Rio was Millie in the marathon that morning. So he said it was his most successful coaching day that day. That
Yeah.
day.
What's kind of like the training philosophy? Like, what does a week of training kind of look like for you when you kind of string it together and you're in a kind of block with no races in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, okay. So I've actually got a pretty busy schedule.
Because you're working full time too, aren't you? Are
Yes, yeah. So,
you in like orthopedic rehab?
yeah, I'm in a private practice, exercise physiology. So it's a bit of a mouthful to say, but I like to think we're a little bit the same as physio, but doing a little bit more of like the rehab exercises and sort of some ongoing conditioning. So I do that full time, Monday to Friday. Don't work weekends, and easily fit my training in and around. My boss is a legend. If I want to start at 9 but finish a bit later, he's pretty sweet with that. So I always get my training in. So training at the moment, if like when I don't really have a serious race coming up for the next 3 or 4 weeks, um, we'll sort of plan on doing either the model of the what like the Tuesday Friday session with a bit of a longer run on the Sunday, or the following week would be the Tuesday Thursday Saturday with the Sunday run. But because my working schedule is a little bit hectic on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my week is like shifted a day. So, for example, today being Wednesday, I trained at the track, and then my next session I'll go again on Friday, and then I'll go again on Sunday, and then I'll long run on Monday morning. So, um, yeah, I'm kind of living most people's lives just a day later,
Yeah, yeah. How's it go
if
with
that
training
makes
part?
sense.
Any training partners do that same schedule with you, or you do a lot of stuff
Um,
solo?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So there's a few of us here in Newey that have started doing Wednesday sessions, and we're out at the Glendale track where they used to do Hunter Track Classic. I live quite close there, which is good. So I'll do that on Wednesdays, and then Fridays for me is typically either a treadmill session, or when we're not when it's not too dark in the afternoons, I'll go outside and do like a longer session on the roads. So Fridays for me has been a massive learning curve in knowing where my ceiling is, for how long I can go for. So I've kind of started to be hitting the 16 kilometer, 17 kilometer sessions, trying to minimize standing recovery. So, most recently, we've been doing kind of like, I guess, like a pyramid step type of sessions, and it's just easy to navigate on the treadmill. But the best I've done is 5 by 12 minute segments, kind
Oh,
of
here we go.
going.
A like thresholdy kind of pace, or like you're on a heart rate?
um, yeah, like kind of having a look at the heart rates, but then also the speed on the treadmills. I guess that's just easier to relate to, but it would be the equivalent of like maybe starting for the first 12 minute at 3:45s, then coming down to 3:35s, then going to 3:40s, then 3:25s, then 3:35s, and then trying to I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a little bit faster than that to finish off with. Um, and yeah, I was pretty stoked with that one, an hour, and no standing recoveries, so that was a good one for me to do. And then if I'm going to do like a big 2 hour long run, last year I did a fair bit of efforts in it, and but at the moment, because I'm doing 3 sessions a week, it's just like a normal 2 hour, just time on feet.
Yeah,
um,
and is that like 4:05K pace or like 4:45K pace? How fast are you kind of like jogging?
Probably like about that 4:15.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's we
so
call that croaker pace on the show. That's fairly quick.
yeah, I like to actually not run over the hills too much. Controversial, but I do like to keep my jogging and my Sunday runs on the flat, and then Sundays I can just get a little bit more of a nice turnover and just concentrate a little bit more, checking in with my foot placement, things like that. And then if I have hills on the agenda, I'll just put them in my training sessions. So,
Yeah. And then how
um,
much like mileage does this come out at total for like the end of the? I guess you. No, it's still a 7 day cycle. It's just everything's a day less.
yes, so because I do my Sunday long run on a Monday, it looks like I'm way ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
um, but I've been really happy with how well my body's pulling up each week with maintaining about 150 to 160 k's a week.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
run I
Okay.
run twice a day most days apart from that Monday. So
Yep.
it's taken me a long time to get to that, since I was, doing not very much mileage at all, being a 1500 runner. But my body is handling it so well. And I don't know about you, but I find I do the smaller runs in the morning, so like the 6, 7, 8K ones. I find that that just makes me really primed and ready to go for work. And then whether it's a workout or the longer run in the Arvo, I just find I'm less stiff. If I miss that morning run, I I, I don't feel free or loose. I'm not sure if that's what other people experience, but I find that as I've gotten older, I am stiffening up, but the more I move my body, the better I feel. So,
And
um,
it's pretty easy to get done to it. Like if it's a 30, 35 minute, 40 minute easy jog, it feels like it's just the work or the jog to get you moving in the morning, and it doesn't actually tire you out too much to then be able to hit the workout in the afternoon.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't have the luxury of doing the session in the morning unless I want to be in the darkness.
Yeah, but you'd be much more awake for the PM one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are times when I have to quickly flip the session. Like last week, I had my last bit of root canal on Wednesday afternoon, so I had to get the session done in the morning. Um, and yeah, you don't feel as good.
You don't. But every parent that's listening knows that if it doesn't happen in the morning, it's very
Yeah,
hard to get done in the afternoon, and you
yeah,
just
yeah.
adapt to that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But that said, I actually do have to remind myself over and over again that the races that I'm doing now are in the morning.
morning.
So
Yeah,
I have to be ready to go. Like I'm actually just not racing it, but I'm doing a bit of a race drill in the race at the Sydney half this Sunday,
Oh yeah, yep,
and that kicks off at 6:45 in the morning. So um,
yep,
I just have to, yeah, be ready for that early start.
yep. What about what else happens in Jenny's life other than running, working, 160K a week? Doesn't sound like there's going to be much more free time for many other activities.
Yeah, because I always feel like my running is the hobby outside of my work.
Yeah,
um, but because because I've got wedding coming up, I'm always just doing random little things about that, going shopping, getting little knickknacks. But my partner's also a cyclist, so I kind of help out if I have to do anything with his training. And he's actually a sprint cyclist, so it's kind of cool learning
okay.
about all of that sport.
He's
And
good. Like he goes, like he's representing people, clubs,
yeah,
teams, countries.
he never got to represent an Aussie team, but I would say he got pretty close.
Okay.
But he was
I
sort
see.
of like in
Understand
the
each
state
other's
team.
kind of what it takes to make it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like where we met. We actually met in the institute gym. The
Yep.
sprint team was training the same time as I was in the gym, and yeah, that's how we met. So we're always sort of like fiddling around with training in our spare time on the weekends and stuff like that. But however, even though he's a cyclist, he doesn't really go riding with me when I'm running
Yeah. Doesn't block
because
the wind for you off the front.
because he's just like, oh, you go too slow. I can't do this.
Yeah. What about I always like to ask people if they've got a book on the bedside table or like a Netflix recommendation at the moment. Like what's filling your time?
I am madly trying to catch up on Survivor, and I've been watching The Block at the moment, so I'm a bit more of a reality TV person. Um, I actually was going to get on Survivor with my cousin, but I made Tokyo Olympics instead, so we had to
Oh,
decline that. So I was so devo.
so you've watched like you're trying to catch up, so you've watched every season.
Yeah, I try to. Like there's probably not many seasons I haven't watched, but yeah, I do watch a lot of that reality TV crap that, everyone says is really bad to watch, but I find it's just a bit mind-numbingly good.
Didn't they didn't some like controversy with the host? Hasn't he been fired? The same guy's been the host forever?
Yeah, so the season that has it's either just wrapped up or it's about to finish. I'm just a lot of episodes behind. But he was finishing up, and a contestant is set to take his place. And at the time, he didn't know, and it got leaked. And so then they had to kind of finalize it before they were ready to finalize that he was losing the job.
Messy.
Um, yeah, which sucks because he was a really good host.
Yeah. And you've been in the ASICS kit. Is that a this year 2025 thing?
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. Kind of like first real contract and things like that. So, um, yeah, 1st of July that started. So I've been really enjoying just so much shoe variety and the
Mm.
luxury of just having a few different type of race shoes to pick from. And gosh, I'm just loving it. They're I couldn't have asked for a better shoe company to sign with. It's really exciting.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to try some of their like most recent stuff, like the Mega Blast. That's like my shoe of the year. That's such a good shoe to jog
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And
I heard you saying that.
yeah,
I've got a pair of the Sonics actually,
yep,
but I am yet to grab some Mega Blasts, and I think I'm gonna really like them. My favorite shoe is the Nova Blast.
yep.
Um,
What are
they
you
just
racing? Are you Sky or Edge?
I have been gravitating towards the edges, like the new ones, the Tokyo ones, but I enjoyed racing in the Sky Paris
Okay,
prior
yep,
to this range coming out. Um, I actually think a little bit the same as you, where I feel like you could flip a coin with these new ones and put them on and feel just as good in both. Um, But yeah, they're a great shoe. They're so good. I've been testing out some Rays as well, and they're insane.
It's such a good range. Like they're jogging shoes, they're performance shoes. It's yeah, very good brand to be aligned with. Yeah, it just got to get you
Yeah.
excited every time you put on a pair of shoes. I actually saw you. It was probably between 41 and 42K at the Sydney Marathon. They had like a massive TV set up.
Oh yeah.
Were you on one of the ASICS ads? Like all
Oh
of a sudden, I
yeah,
just looked
yeah.
up at this massive screen, and you've got shoes in your hand. Like I'm just got ran past, and oh, there's Jenny Blundell. She's on this
That's
ASICS ad.
so funny. Yeah, yeah. I was doing a little bit of like a I guess some talking and things like that at the expo on the Thursday, and they wanted to have one of the runners just sort of advertise for the limited edition Nova Blasts, and I was wrapped because
That's
yeah,
what it
the
was.
Nova
Yep.
Blasts were my favorite, and then Sam Hopper was like, "Here, have this pair," and I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah. That was good. There's plenty of people watching that TV, so good brand
I
to be
had some
aligned with.
clients actually be like, "I saw you on TV."
Yeah. Well, I reckon that would have just been the feed that they're playing through these TVs on course.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Because some of my clients, like, they don't know anything about all my running, and so yeah, to for them to see me on the TV, they were just like shocked.
yeah, well, you probably got more airtime than the lead Australian women.
Oh
Didn't
gosh,
didn't
don't
see them
even
until
bring
the
up that
finish line, but
kettle of
you're you're
fish.
on the ads.
Ah, I know. I was keen to put up like the replay and do one of my sort of treadmill runs and watch it.
Yeah.
But then
Yep.
when I heard all you guys say that they barely even had them on screen, I was like, okay, well, I don't really want to watch that.
Yep.
Because
Bit
I
disappointing
wanted to
there.
watch the Australian race, really.
Yeah. Same. Yep. That's
Yeah.
good. So Jenny, we got the exclusive that you're going to run Melbourne Half Marathon as your debut.
Yes.
Any other races locked in between now and the end of the year?
Yeah, so I, because I've been racing for a lot and I have been pulling up really, really well, like not really much DOMs, not even that much DOMs after City to Surf. Um, it's the experience that I need. So I don't advise for everyone to probably race as much that I have been, but so this weekend I'm doing a bit of a race drill at the Sydney half just to go more than the 14 Ks at City to Surf. And then the week after that, if I pull up well, I'll go down to Adelaide and do the City Bay,
Yep.
which that would be cool.
It will
Obviously,
be. Yeah.
haven't
Point to point.
haven't done it before. Is it right in saying that it's a little bit downhill skewed? Is that right, Brady?
I think so, yeah. And if you get a tailwind, you can really fly on it as well. I personally haven't done it, but yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I would really like to do that if the legs letting me recover well after Sunday, and then I'll have a few weeks, and then yep, Melbourne half, and then the next one after that would probably be Burnie 10K. But the only thing is that will be like 6 days out from getting married. So depends if I'm too stressed. I think it's my own sort of stress that might stop me from doing that race. And
Prize
then
money could be good though. Put that on the
yeah,
tab.
it could be. It could be. Well, yeah, definitely would be. And then when we're going to Bali, we're doing the classic Aussie honeymoon
Yeah.
destination, Bali. But we're only there for 5 nights, so I was thinking I might have a bit of a rest week and try and not actually do any running whatsoever. Have a bit of a taper, and then World Cross Trials at the end of that month, and then Jimbo really wants me to keep my options open for Zatopek. Um,
Okay. Yep.
so I know I said I've sort of finished on the track, but I think it will be silly to close those doors. But I would really like to see if I could try and make the team for the cross country come January.
Yeah.
Um,
And you'd know better than me. Like, is there in the criteria, have they mentioned performances at Zatopek?
couldn't
Don't know.
tell you. because
Yeah,
I feel like
that could be in there, so that might be what. Yeah, Jimbo might have read the policy and be all over it.
you'd think so. Um, no, I mean, I'm not too sure about that, but like, have you read it?
No, no, I haven't read it. I probably should. I know there was the Com Games one got released this week as well, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
But I think in
there's
history they've looked at Zatopek results because the World Cross trials are usually pretty close to Zatopek, and if it comes down to head to heads and things like that,
yeah, 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 yeah. That's yeah,
well, it
that's
wouldn't hurt your chances though. Like a good run at Zatopek
yeah,
would definitely help your chances of getting selected if you have a good one at World Cross as well.
yeah. Because I think World Cross it's like it's a bit strange. It's on a Friday night. I think on the 28th or 29th or something like that of November, and then Zatopek's like literally 2 weeks later.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
So
they're
they're
doing it the
very
other way
close
around.
together.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the Worlds is in January.
yeah.
So
Are the
um,
trials at Stromlo?
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's on a Friday night. So
Yep.
um, I know a few of us were sort of like, oh, I have to take a day off leave and travel down
Yeah.
there.
Oh, good
But
luck. It's pretty
yeah,
loaded. Yeah, second half, well, last quarter of the year.
yeah, it kind of just keeps you busy and makes me realize that that there's always races around. It's just sort of um, navigating training around that, which um, I've been racing a lot, so there will be time and a place for me to dip back into a training block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, Jenny. I know you've had some hay fever. You've done well to get through 55, 60 minutes of this chat tonight. We appreciate you massively giving up some time for the Inside Running podcast, and I know the listeners would have thoroughly enjoyed hearing that, most likely on their weekend long run.
Yeah, thanks, Brady. And yeah, love being along for the podcast, but I definitely enjoy being a listener every week.
Nah, thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Brady.
Thanks to ASICS for sponsoring this weekend show. Shop the ASICS Tokyo Collection. Experience premium running comfort and performance with their newest models, the Mega Blast and Sonic Blast. Visit asics.com.au or visit your local running specialty store.
But here I stand, a man who's rootsy on the stands, and I'm gonna hold my head up high. I was told as a young man, doesn't matter if you're white or black. Just show love to everyone you meet, doesn't matter.